And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Grade A Fantasy. I'm here. Let's get a head start on this Week 13 preview for my top plays at quarterback for the Fan Duel main slate. Last week was pretty good, slightly over 100,000 entries. I basically 2.25x. I've been playing the $3 contest as I've been telling y'all the last few weeks. But now, time to go back to an old favorite. The old favorite is 50% to the field. The field is not too large, and the pay scale is great. When they were doing this was when like the pay scale was up. They was given about 78,000 or whatever the case is. Not that big of a field, still under 50,000, 45,000 to be exact. That's the prize scale as I scroll it for you for the Sunday slate. Even though it does say Thursday NFL snap. 20, 15, 10, 5, 25 goes all the way down. And as you can see to the left, as you can see on the right side, it pays up to $5 all the way up to 22,500th place. So profit of $1 if you're finishing that big range right there because it's so much overlay. There's a possibility that this contest could still fill. I mean, that's not too much people. There were times that when it was all the way up at 78,000 and they were paying close to like 40 something thousand or 39,000 people out for places. This did fall about 3,000 a few times. But hey, to get this back, I'm definitely happy about that. I played $3 the last few weeks because there was just a lot of options that I wanted to get to. So since I couldn't get to it, it is what it is. But here are the quarterbacks, and here's the pricing for Fan Duel main slate. Like I said, I don't know why it says Sunday, but I did check on the app, and yes, there is but now it makes me want to check to see if there's a $4 overlay contest on Thursday for Thanksgiving. Like I said, I might do that, but that will be like one long video because it'll just be me covering 3 games. But let's get right into the QB situation. For the QB situation, Josh Allen at top. You already know he kind of now has the reputation and he himself kind of have a Detroit reputation. One highly full-powered weapon or team coming back off a loss, and it's against not a such, this defense doesn't, present much resistance. It's still a formidable, like I said, still a formidable front four, still a good front seven, but I think it's one of those days where, yes, you could stack Allen naked. You could place Allen naked and then just skinny stack him. As we keep going down, Herbert, next option, scored basically almost 19 points, 18.78 in week 2 against Las Vegas. 8,300, a full 1,100. You already know with something like that. He's going to draw. He's definitely going to draw some ownership compared to Allen, but I think Allen still draws some ownership, but it's a huge drop off. Baker Mayfield has injured his left shoulder, so it's not looking like he'll most likely play. He's questionable with his shoulder, but he's already down. He's already looking doubtful, so we'll talk about Terry Bridgewater later. He's looking like to be the replacement, 6,300. Matthew Stafford against Carolina. Carolina defense has been playing well, but the Los Angeles Rams defense has just been amazing. Offense has just been amazing. Matthew Stafford, 8,000. The only thing you're worried about Matthew Stafford in this game, because it is Carolina, if this is a Kyron Williams game. Like, he might throw a screen to him and he might throw one to Devontae because Devontae is his favorite red zone target. But if Kyron catches one and then runs to himself, you don't need Matthew Stafford. Jacoby Brissett, 76, against one of my favorite pass funnels to go get. And the Tampa Bay defense has not played well these last few weeks, even coming off the bye. Jacoby Brissett looking at 7,600. So definitely Jacoby Brissett. And now the doubles will get probably even a slightly more complicated. Here's the thing. For somebody who's followed Arizona, especially since Kyler Murray's rookie year, when there's an injury, that's the main thing that it does. It boosts Greg Dortch's chances. If Marvin Harrison comes back, Greg Dortch will primarily become 4th wide receiver, give somebody a break, and or stay at punt and kick return. That's the only thing you have to worry about. After that, are you going to do Harrison and Wilson? Or are you going to do one of the wide receivers with McBride? That's all you're going to have to worry about. It is that simple with Brissett in Arizona. Other matchups that I like, he struggled the last 2 weeks, so I'm going with a revenge narrative. Darnold at home with Minnesota coming in. It probably would have even been more of a narrative game if McCarthy was going to play, but McCarthy was fine during the game and then he actually reported concussion symptoms on a flight. So, on the flight back from Chicago, so he's now in protocol, so we might not get the Sam Darnold McCarthy rematch. And when it comes to the mid range, it's gonna be surprising. But one of my favorite plays is silently Trevor Lawrence. Say what you want about him as say what you want him as an actual quarterback, but he's been pretty decent. He's been pretty decent the last 2 weeks, and he has another soft matchup in Tennessee. His last 2 weeks, 20.4, 20.14, and 16.02. But when you combine his last 7 weeks, he has an average of 19.04, which is higher than which is 3 points, almost 3 points higher than his fantasy average. And in those last 7, he has 4 weeks of 20.14 or higher. He has another soft matchup in Tennessee. As you can see, threw 3 touchdowns, got the 20.4 against Arizona just yesterday. And then as you go back, scored a 22 against Vegas. Got almost 18 against the Rams in the shocker. Hung tough against Seattle and KC. So, it's been a mixed bag over these last few weeks against, soft and tough opponents. But the last few weeks, he has been playing well. So, and you already know the stacks are cheap with him. The stacks are very cheap. Trevor Lawrence at 72, and let's say you get Brian Thomas back, or maybe you leave Brian Thomas alone since he hasn't been connecting with Brian Thomas like that. He finally I did watch that Arizona game, and he did connect well with his new wide receiver toy from the Raiders, and then of course his favorite target is Parker Washington. So Jacoby Myers finally starting to get in sync with him or whatever. So who knows? That's definitely, for fantasy, you're looking at a very, very cheap stack. Once we start getting to the pay downs, I definitely like Tua this week. It's still an offense. Now, fantasy-wise, he's totally unperformed, but this is still New Orleans on the road. Bye week. Fresh A-Chain, fresh Waddle, fresh Tua. Tua has had issues with, as long as there's, pressure around him, he has the tendency to maybe throw a few errant throws. But with New Orleans, plays tough defense. But like I said, there's nothing really there of a pass rush, especially with this Miami team. Now, New Orleans proved me right, getting pressure on Kirk Cousins. But this is Tua. Tua's better than Kirk Cousins. And that offensive line is better than what Atlanta has. So I definitely like Tua this week at 69. Him being over 7,000 definitely makes stacks of A-Chain and Waddle pretty decent. I think that could add up to like around 20. Like the Trevor Lawrence. You stack Trevor Lawrence with Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington, you're not getting to 20,000. You still got a lot of money to play with left after those 3 spots. So it's around this mid-range right here. And interestingly, these paydowns, ugly names, ugly opportunities, but they have soft matchups. As he gets acclimated with the offense and getting more consistent reps, you got Kirk Cousins. Yes, it's on the road in New York, but, he did drop a 15 against, New Orleans. This is a softer matchup, so Kirk Cousins, and who knows, he might get Drake London back. So Kirk Cousins for 6,800. He's still in protocol, but I have a feeling that CJ Stroud might come back. Indy's a good matchup for a quarterback. I do like those, but when it comes to that, a lot of these value names, Tyrod Taylor, opposite of that game, and we know you can't trust Atlanta's defense. Tyrod makes the Jets offense look a little bit better. It's definitely a cheap stack, whoever you choose to team him up with. He did hook up with Mechie, 67 plus a Mechie wide receiver. I think you're looking at just those 2 by himself, still under 13,000. Tyler Shuck is at Miami. Miami's not the best defense, even though they're on the road. They're letting him sling that ball. So he could get some big plays to Olave, if that. Those are also options. And when it comes down to here, it is crazy. This is the first time I'm going to say it, but it's still against Jacksonville. Like in a 20 max, I might get to him once or twice, but they're letting him make the mistakes, but they're letting him learn and they're letting him scramble. It's pretty much, hey, this is your job, kid. You're the future. So Cam Ward at home against Jacksonville, 6,400. He's hooking up with with Cameron Dyke, and he's getting the opportunity to sling this ball. 256. He could scramble for a touchdown. Mobility. Tennessee will still lose the game, but Cam Ward still has at 6,400, 15 to 18 upside. And if he could slightly increase that with a TD pass with Cameron Dyke, I mean, it's a cheap way to go with your lineup than a Josh Allen because it pretty much is on him. He does not have much to work with, but Cam Ward is an option. And then we'll go all the way down here. The cheapest quarterback on the slate, 6,300, Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, notable trusted vet name, and also he'll have the weapons. And most likely has a chance to have Bucky Irving back against that very, very giving defense in the Arizona Cardinals. So, as we all see here, when it comes to the payouts, when it comes to the slate, there's a lot of interesting options on FanDuel from basically from Trevor Lawrence down. I mean, you still have some solid names up top, but there is some value in some of these budget names, so definitely don't forget them. But yeah, the 20 max is back overlay, and like I said, great pay structure, and not that many people as it was early in the season. There was a couple times they had it in the 40,000s or whatever case was, but most of the time that contest had like a 78 to 79,000. Never got to 80, but it was sniffing that area. And then they were giving basically away almost 40,000 to 33,000 spots. So I'll be jumping right back up on that. But playing the $3 was definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. But getting a head start on the week, I will see if I might do something tomorrow. I'll decide tomorrow if I decide to do like a Thanksgiving preview. Because the Thanksgiving slate does look interesting. We'll see. But definitely tomorrow we'll get to week 13 of the running backs on FanDuel. But this is the preview of my top plays at the QB position for FanDuel. Thanks for tuning in. This is your boy Grady Fantasy, signing off.